Here we are, all dressed in pink with our game faces on, in a different world with the same mission, to defeat breast cancer. Because we won't allow our fight to be sidelined, ever. This year, together may change, but even if we're apart, we'll always stay united. We'll rally and we'll fundraise wherever we are, coming back louder and stronger than ever against breast cancer. Because what unites us ignites us. And once we're fired up, we won't back down. No way, no how. That fire is what keeps us in the fight. Raising money to fund new breast cancer research, providing 24/7 support for cancer patients, and giving access to life-saving screenings. So yes, this year might look different, but we still need you to join us. Because together, we've changed the face of breast cancer, and our progress won't be put on pause. It can't. So rally with us and fundraise with us. The future is a world free from breast cancer, and that future is in our hands.
Hello, everyone. I'm Marquetta Bryan, a proud American Cancer Society volunteer and Georgia Area Board Chair, and I would like to welcome all of you to our first ever national Making Strides Against Breast Cancer Kickoff event. The next half hour will not only inspire and reignite your passion to defeat breast cancer, but also bring to light some of the new challenges we are facing because of the current pandemic. COVID-19 may have changed the way we will make strides this year, but our focus and our hope have not changed. We will continue to celebrate survivors, support those currently fighting, and raise money to fund life-saving research and essential programs and services. Making Strides Against Breast Cancer has many corporate partners who remain just as committed to supporting the fight against breast cancer as you do. We are so grateful for the generous support of Avon, our national presenting sponsor for Making Strides Against Breast Cancer, along with longtime sponsor Chevrolet, and the Zeta Tau Alpha sorority as our national survivor ambassador of Making Strides. Avon sent a special message to share with you. Let's take a look.
My mom suffered from breast cancer and passed away from breast cancer. And now it's my pleasure to support her memory by being here with Making Strides in the American Cancer Society and all of these great people in Central Park to fight this terrible disease.
This is one of our biggest, if not the biggest walk, and I'm thrilled to be presenting the check to the American Cancer Society Making Strides on behalf of Avon today.
Last year, when Avon joined forces with the American Cancer Society, I thought that was awesome because now we have two big powerhouses that are coming together and creating that synergy.
This is who we are and who we represent, and doing things to make a difference to women's lives especially is really important to us.
They're kissing breast cancer goodbye, and it's so great to see them engage with the community. They're thrilled to be here, and we're so happy to have this partnership.
It's very exciting. I love it. Very energizing, and it's emotional to see all of the survivors.
I mean, this is really all about people and coming together. I mean, you talk about 50,000 united. It's just really extraordinary, and we just really are so grateful for everybody in their engagement with the American Cancer Society.
A big thank you to Avon for their continued support and sponsorship of Making Strides Against Breast Cancer. The dollars that are raised have helped the American Cancer Society fund life-saving breast cancer research, education, and care for more than 25 years, and continues to mean so much to those fighting breast cancer. As a matter of fact, breast cancer survivors, we want to hear from you. Go ahead and tell us in the feed how many days, weeks, or years of survivorship you are celebrating right now. And to our caretakers, advocates, and supporters, let's show our breast cancer survivors and thrivers some love. Cancer fighters and survivors all have incredible stories about their cancer journeys. It is often those stories that you hear from your sister, your friend, your mom, that keep us going in the mission to rid the world of breast cancer. Every single one of them is living proof that your work and dedication is saving lives. Nobody knows this better than survivors, and I am honored to introduce you to cancer survivor Latasia Acklink.
I was diagnosed with breast cancer late last year, and I found the lump myself. I'm familiar with my breasts. No one knows your body like you know your body. So when I felt a lump, I went in and I got it checked out. I was diagnosed, and less than a month later, I was having a lumpectomy. Here we are now, a year later. I'll be celebrating 1 year being cancer-free. When I got diagnosed, one of the first things that I wanted to look for was information about how has this disease had an effect on African-American women. To be able to go on the American Cancer Society website and find recent studies, it's eye-opening and amazing, because oftentimes I feel that African-American women are invisible. They're talking about the African-American community and how this disease is affecting the community. And so to see Making Strides is looking at me and seeing me too as the face of breast cancer is really important. My first experience at Making Strides was pretty amazing. There was so much positive energy in the air. Being a breast cancer survivor, it was beautiful to meet so many strangers who would just give you a high five, give you a hug. I can't say enough about how good it felt to be amongst the people there. Making Strides had so many inspirational signs along the path, and we'd slap the sign, give it a high five for energy. We walked, we danced, we sang. And I learned that because of my fundraising and the fundraising of many others, we're able to help. And that's beautiful. We need to educate all women on breast cancer, on triple negative. There's so many resources out there. This has affected many people, many women. Although we've come a long ways, there's still so much more research and information, and helping to raise funds with Making Strides actually can move this cause along. Breast cancer is many things, but it's not the winner. Know your breast and advocate for yourself, but then get busy, because there's a lot of hope out there.
What an amazing story. I am thrilled to welcome to the program Latasia Ackley. Latasia, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
What would you say to those, and I guess for yourself, what makes you continue to support Making Strides against breast cancer right now and what I'm considering to be our new normal?
I was very hard pressed to find information regarding Black women and how breast cancer has affected them. And that's really important to me. It's sad to say it in this way, but representation matters, even with something like this. You want to be able to talk to someone who looks like you. You want to understand their experiences, because as a Black woman, my experience is oftentimes just a little bit different than others. And so with Making Strides, as I said, they're doing the work. They're doing the work, and it feels very comfortable working with a team who's looking at me, who's thinking about Black women, who's talking about what we're going through with breast cancer and what can or may be affecting us as women. And I think that's very interesting. And so for me, I want to continue to support.
So, Latasia, I would like to stay there for just a moment, because that is such a relevant conversation in our world right now. One of the things that really resonated with me from your video is that you said African American women are often invisible, but Making Strides saw you as the face of breast cancer. Why is that so important?
That's important to me because at the time of being diagnosed, I had no idea where to go, who to talk to. Google became quickly my best friend, and I needed to and wanted to talk to another Black woman. I talked to many women, but our experiences, again, are oftentimes different. And so I wanted to understand that. And in this process, I decided to, along with my family and friends, to join American Cancer Society for the walk. And when I told my story, I told it very much unfiltered on my page, because this was going out to my friends and to my people. I told it very unfiltered. I never thought initially that American Cancer Society would look at it or read it, and almost immediately they contacted me and said, wow, I like what you're saying, we like what you're saying, and we want to get this out to others. And they saw me.
That is so empowering. Thank you so much for your authenticity in sharing your journey and taking up that charge. Now, I understand that you had a great support system throughout your journey and that your husband, Antonius, has been right there with you. Is Antonius with you today?
Yes, he is. He is. Antonius is always here. Come, join us. This is Antonius. My husband does not miss a doctor's appointment. My husband does not miss a day of radiation. My husband has been by my side every step of the way. When I feel a little down, he's there. I don't know where he gets his strength to keep both of us going during that time, but he really, really did a great job and continues to do a great job.
Thank you.
Well, beautiful couple. Thank you, Antonius, for joining us. Can you talk a bit about how important it is for caregivers and support systems?
Well, thank you very much for having me as well. And I think the question is also relevant because I think and now understanding better what my wife had to go through, but also to be really a caregiver. And that means I'm also her husband, but just standing together in this journey and having these days where sometimes my wife, of course, has her joy and still has her tears, happiness and these mood swings, and when she wants to research certain things and then she couldn't find it, and sometimes frustration, but always together at any treatment, at any appointment. And I say, honestly speaking, I was not the only one, but yes, I was there every single moment, and also for me to understand better what's going on, because my wife said she want to live, and I think it's very important when your wife says I want to live, your answer can only be yes, let's do it, let's go for it, because we need to understand better what's going on. As not only as a husband, we need to understand better.
You two are absolutely amazing. I can tell that you were a wonderful caregiver by the way your wife is still looking at you, even today during this interview. So thank you both so much for your time today, and also thank you for your continued support of Making Strides Against Breast Cancer.
You are welcome, and thank you very much again for having both of us and letting us and providing this platform to share our story. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
As you just heard, there are disparities and health equity issues faced by African American women that absolutely need to be addressed. Reducing cancer disparities by race and ethnicity is an overarching goal of the American Cancer Society. Earlier, I had the chance to speak with Dr. Carmen Guerra, an expert on health disparities who serves as the American Cancer Society National Volunteer Board's scientific officer. We spoke about the impact of health disparities and why the society has made this a significant priority in the fight against breast cancer. Dr. Guerra, thank you so much for joining us for this important conversation. Some may not know what we are referring to when we discuss health disparities. And as a recognized expert in the field of health disparities, can you talk to our viewers a bit about how the breast cancer journey is different for African American women?
Yes, you nailed it. Black women have a very different breast cancer journey than white women because they disproportionately are burdened by breast cancer, and because they experience different access obstacles to either prevention or detection or treatment and even survival, and perhaps encounter more systemic racial barriers that are very complex to understand and tackle, that subsequently cause them to experience either different rates of breast cancer for incidence or mortality, or different access to treatment. So for example, we know that breast cancer is the most common cancer in women. It accounts for about 32% of all cancer diagnoses, and it's the #2 most lethal cancer in women. But what we know is that Black women actually have a slightly lower incidence of breast cancer, but a higher mortality rate. And in fact, it's about 40% higher mortality rate.
Thank you. So much of what you said around the disparities in breast cancer incidences in African American women seem to revolve around this access to care and access to treatment. And so I want to talk a bit about health equity. That is a conversation that is gaining more national attention and a national dialogue in this spirit that we have now around combating racial injustice. What is the American Cancer Society doing to eliminate health inequities?
This year alone, the American Cancer Society is going to be funding 60 health equity research grants. And while we want to celebrate and think that's wonderful, we know we can do a lot more to fund more of those grants. And so that is a reason we're so excited about making strides against breast cancer, because they can help us make that a reality, funding more research that's going to be aimed at understanding health disparities, what causes them, and how to decrease them. And so I'm really heartened to know that there are so many supporters out there that are watching this and committing once again to fight breast cancer and protecting the future of breast cancer research.
From the bench to the bedside, ACS-funded researchers are changing lives and changing the world with their life-saving work every day. The story of Tess and Dr. Jaxie is just one example of this special connection.
January 7th, 2013 is a day that I'll never forget, because that's the day that I was diagnosed with breast cancer. My family doctor called me in and said, "It's not good." And I just knew by the look on his face that I had started a journey that I wasn't prepared for. They had asked me if I would participate in a clinical trial. I decided that I needed to do this. I needed to do this for the future of other women who were experiencing it. And I needed to do it because I benefited from all the other people that came before me.
My name is Dr. Reshma Jaxie. I was very fortunate to receive a mentored research scholar grant from the American Cancer Society. That was a career development award that provided me very early in my career with protected time and mentorship and training necessary to build my career as an independent researcher in the area of breast cancer. When individuals donate to the American Cancer Society, they can have faith in the fact that this is an organization that supports researchers who are actually really striving to make a difference in this disease. I was the direct beneficiary of these resources, and I wouldn't be able to do the things that I'm able to do today, leading national trials, publishing studies, helping patients. I wouldn't have been able to do that without that support. And what the American Cancer Society does is it puts together all of those donations in a way that can make a true, meaningful impact.
Dr. Jaxie, if she was sitting right here, would tell you without a shadow of a doubt that her clinical trial cured my cancer. The treatment plan and the adverse reactions I had helped her determine the appropriate dose for all of the women that come after that. And that means more to me than me being cured of cancer. I am eternally grateful from the bottom of my heart. And if she was here, I would tell her that it's been a privilege and an honor to have her be a part of my team.
My hope is that from the sacrifices that Tess made here to participate in this clinical trial, and that from all of the resources that were provided by hundreds and thousands of donors to the American Cancer Society, that we will make advances that will end a disease that has affected far too many women, women I know, women that every person watching this will know.
I hope for a day when there's no cancer. I hope for a day when nobody has to go through what I went through. We can't get complacent. The fight's not over, and we cannot give up the fight, so we need to continue to donate.
What an inspiring story, and it perfectly shows how your dedication and support are making a difference in the breast cancer fight. Clinical trials are the leading edge of cancer treatments, and a future free from breast cancer is not possible without a solid commitment and investment in research. Researchers are saving lives, but the impact of COVID-19 on our ability to fund vital research cannot be overstated. Earlier, I sat down with Dr. Darren Robelaire, an ACS-funded researcher who is conducting some incredible work in the fight against breast cancer. We spoke about one of the amazing devices to come out of his lab, as well as the future of his work in the face of this pandemic.
Dr. Robelaire, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me, Marquetta. It's good to be here.
Tell us a bit about this exciting work that you are doing.
Sure. So the problem we're trying to tackle with this project is the following. Breast cancer patients are often given chemotherapy or a suite of drugs that are designed to shrink a tumor prior to surgery. And the issue is that some patients respond very well to these drugs, to the chemotherapy, and other patients don't, meaning that their tumors don't shrink. And right now, we don't have a really good way of determining who's responding and who isn't. So what my lab has tried to do is develop a new wearable probe that can measure a tumor during treatment to try to tell as early as possible who's responding and who isn't. And this is important because if we can tell who's not responding, then a physician might have the opportunity to change the drugs they're giving to the patient or change the treatment so they have a better chance of responding without undergoing, sometimes months of side effects that aren't really providing any benefit. So I brought the wearable probe here. You can see it. It's a thin, flexible patch. This is the bottom that goes onto the skin of the breast. So it would go onto tissue like this. And what it does is it sends light into the breast and through the tumor. So you can think of it sort of like a Fitbit, like the one I have on my wrist that uses light to measure your heart rate, where we're using light to measure that tumor and measure how metabolically active that tumor is. We can measure the amount of oxygenated and deoxygenated hemoglobin. And we hypothesize that these measurements can tell us who's responding and who isn't responding early during therapy.
Being on the front line of such important research work, what would you like to say to the millions of people who help fund your research by donating to Making Strides Against Breast Cancer?
So first thing I'd like to say is thank you so much for your support in the past, present, and going forward. Yes, without the American Cancer Society and support from people like you, we can't do the work we're doing. So again, thank you so much.
Dr. Robelaire, we so appreciate you and what you do. And on behalf of those facing breast cancer, thank you for your commitment to science and work to bring us closer to a life and a world without breast cancer.
Thank you so much, Marquetta. It was good talking to you today.
You as well.
Amazing work by Dr. Robelaire. That work was made possible by people like you and by the generosity of Making Strides Against Breast Cancer sponsors. In today's COVID-19 world, it's easy to forget all the good that we're creating together. And that's exactly why we're here today, to celebrate the work you make possible by being a Making Strides supporter. Take a moment now and show some love in the Facebook feed for the amazing breast cancer researchers dedicated to this fight with us. As you know, ACS-funded research has saved lives and improved the lives of millions of breast cancer patients and their families. That's only possible because initiatives like Making Strides Against Breast Cancer continue to provide the funding to sustain research. Every dollar makes a difference. I'd like to introduce you now to someone known as the $1 Million Lady down in Miami. I hope you find her story as inspiring as I do.
Probably the one reason that I always continue to do this and why I always go back to it is really for my mom. It's about my mom. She's the one who showed me. And my mom was always about giving. Always about giving. So now it's my turn to give. My name's Tamara Sisler. I have raised over $1 million for American Cancer Society. I'm known as the $1 Million Woman, and it's become an integral part of who I am. As I got more involved, it wasn't only my mom's story. It was everybody else's story. I really wanted to get involved and make a difference. When I started fundraising, yes, it was really small. It's gone from small to medium to large. One thing that I've learned is never be afraid to ask for money. The worst thing somebody can tell you is no. So you move on to the next person. Because when that next person tells you yes, it's gonna make up for all the other no's that you've received. In Miami-Dade County, I work as the department coordinator. We have a lot of women and men that are battling breast cancer. It's very important for us to support our county employees that are going through breast cancer. One of the things that we do in my department, we always walk in somebody's honor. So we definitely rally around the employees that are going through breast cancer and also the family members. The reason I give to American Cancer Society is because they use their money for good, because of the research, because of their funding for their grants, and because of the money raised. We have Hope Lodge. We have their 24-hour, 7 days a week hotline. The people you're talking to really understand what you're going through. I get very emotional when I see the sea of pink, because even if we don't find a cure in my lifetime, I know that the work that I've done has made a difference in somebody's life. I know I've surpassed $1 million, but I want to become like the $5 million woman. I have something bigger to do, and I'm still not done.
Thank you, Damaris. Love that drive and enthusiasm. You heard that Damaris is making strides for her mom, and now we want to hear from you. Who inspires you? Tell us more about who you are making strides for this year in our Facebook feed. I know there are some very special people who inspire you to join this cause, and we want you to know that you inspire all of us. The American Cancer Society is so grateful for your support, and Chris Kim, the American Cancer Society's Chief Operating Officer, had this to share.
Hi everyone. This kickoff event is so important to me personally. I joined the American Cancer Society 21 years ago, soon after my mom-in-law was diagnosed with breast cancer. I'll never forget what she said. I know my enemy and I know what I have to do. Thanks to early detection and treatment, options made possible by making strides. Jane got to see me deliver her grand twins, saw them off to college, and mark so many milestones. She's looking forward to her 80th birthday next year. But not everyone is so lucky. I think about women who are fighting breast cancer today during a pandemic. It has got to be so, so hard. And for them, for the 279,000 Americans who will learn they have breast cancer this year, we have to fight. Fight to ensure that your American Cancer Society can help 24/7 on the phone, via chat or video conference to listen and provide information, resources, and referrals. COVID-19 has caused so much harm and hurt, including to your American Cancer Society. For the first time in our history, we may be forced to reduce funding for research by 50%, and that's why we have to continue to make strides. Thank you for all you do. And now I'd like to introduce you to a very special member of the Making Strides family, Shannon Vick.
To be a mom of 4 kids is crazy making. You're constantly juggling schedules and, who needs to be where when and who's hungry and who's not. But it's also awesome because it's full of many, many hugs and smiles and I love you mommies, and it's the best of both worlds. I was 27 weeks pregnant with my 4th child, and I felt a lump and thought, oh, it's probably just, a milk duct or something. I'm getting ready to have a baby. And I showed it to my doctor, who kind of whisked me away and was like, nope, we got to get that checked out. And, within 2 weeks' time, I was in chemo while I was still pregnant. When I first found out that I had cancer, I went through, the normal thoughts. I worried that I wasn't gonna get to meet my baby. Do you imagine that you're not gonna be here, or what your family's life will be like if you weren't here? But I didn't have time to stay in bed and sulk or feel sorry for myself. All I could do was just get back up and keep on going and keep on being their mom. And because I was their mom, I had a purpose, and I had, enough drive to keep on going, and that's what keeps me going now. I was nearing the 5-year mark, because that's a big goal. And that February, I was re-diagnosed. It had metastasized to my pelvic bone. I was terrified this time, more so than before, because the part that couldn't get over is it doesn't go away. You get to move on and live your life, but it's still there. These treatments, they work, as my doctor put it, they work until they don't work. So when or if my protocol stops working, I want there to be another one in place that's just as good or better, and that's going to be there to work. And so that's why we walk, and that's why we keep fundraising. The research the American Cancer Society does, because of the fundraising that we do, fills me with the most hope. Because without it, drugs that I'm currently on wouldn't be available. And there are new treatments always coming out, and they're because there's research that's ongoing. That's the most important part to me for Making Strides. It's a great event to be a part of. There's so many wonderful people, rallying all of you on, and even though you don't know them personally, when you hear their stories or you tell your story and you get the hugs and you see all the pink, it's just so uplifting and you really feel like you're making a difference. It's kind of empowering because you know that you're not alone and there's tons of people out there rooting for the same things that you're rooting for, which is, hopefully one day a cure. When I put on that survivor shirt, there's truth to it. Like, I survived and I keep on surviving. Every day that, I get to walk around and be with my family and my kids is a day to celebrate.
Making strides against breast cancer has always been more than a walk. It is a movement. Because of the pandemic, how we unite and fight back this fall will look very different. But our passion to end breast cancer is the same because nothing can stop the Making Strides spirit. We are reimagining your favorite Making Strides celebrations this year. So if you haven't already, join the movement by signing up online so you can begin fundraising and receive the latest updates on how we are uniting communities this fall. I hope today's program helped to reignite your passion and commitment for this cause. We need each of you now, more than ever, to join the movement and fund the future, and so does the next generation.
Join the movement.
Join the movement. Join the movement.
Join the movement.
Fund the future. Fund the future.
Fund the future.
Fund the future for me. Fund the future for our sister. Let's go. Fund my future.
Fund the future for my mom.
Financiar el futuro para mi mamá.
Fund the future for my grandma.
Fund the future for my auntie. Fund our future.
Fund the future for me.
Fund the future for mom.
Fund the future for me.
For me. For me.
For me.
For me.
For me.